Hello and welcome to the Back Nine Report. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Alvader. Every week, we check in on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Hey, we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. Fred, hi, how are you today?
Hey, Carlos, fantastic. Got to play a little golf over the weekend, got to watch a little golf over the weekend. Hey, there was a lot of great golf. There's also a lot of football. College football is going on. The NFL is going on, and the NFL had some great games for a change. They weren't blowouts. There's a lot of really tight contests. But you know what? There was a lot of golf going on, Carlos. Now with the LIV, we had 3 men's tournaments around the world, in addition to the LPGA event out in Portland. But we had Max Homa repeating in California on the first event of the 2022-2023 PGA Tour season. We had over in Italy, where they're going to play the Ryder Cup next year. They had Rory and Matthew Fitzpatrick were tied for the lead after 54 holes, but then Scotland's Robert McIntyre slipped in on Sunday to get the win in a playoff over Matt Fitzpatrick. And then you had the LIV event in Chicago, and you had, guess what? Cam Smith won. What a surprise. Hottest guy in golf this year, besides Scotty Scheffler, wins in Chicago. I think he took home pocketed about $6 million just for that one tournament for 3 rounds. Not a bad week's work for him. But Carlos, there's also a lot of stuff going on. And even though we got a lot of great golf and, the football, but the ratings are going down, aren't they? Are people just fed up with all this LIV and stuff going back and forth? What's going on? Ratings are down?
Ratings are down 14% since that first 14% since last year at the same time. So it's taken into consideration what started from the first tournament from the LIV back in June. And definitely, I mean, I know the golf business is pushing back on the TV ratings thing, but hey, it's not football. Football just started a couple of weeks ago, so they can't blame that. Definitely something's going on. And whether it is that people are really taking some stance against the PGA Tour, because there is people that really are tired and don't want to hear any more about the PGA Tour and the LIV, and they might not be tuning any of them, which is the case for a lot of people. There's just like, I don't want to have anything with this field. And maybe also the other problem is a lot of those new viewers and new fans are really not getting attracted to it. That's what they really are not seeing on this. But definitely, we have seen a dip in the ratings, and it's very significantly 14%. That is a lot, Fred. I mean, there has to be something. Like Phil Mickelson said, hey, they have to get together and do something, because this is not good at all for golf at this moment.
While we're on this, before we get off this, and Greg's been saying that they're working on a network agreement with somebody, but so far, all the U.S. networks have basically turned them down. They said, no, we don't want anything to do with you. Even Amazon and Apple have said, no, we don't want to become involved. Now, maybe Greg wants too much money, and he's going to have to sweeten the pot maybe a little bit or something to get somebody on board. But I don't know. One of the things I read today on social media, maybe they should get the History Channel, because a lot of the guys are on the LIV tour are already history. So I don't know. Maybe, who knows? We'll see, right?
That's a good one. But at the end of the day, they don't need any. The way that things are going, they have their own streaming service. I mean, it's just that
but nobody's watching.
Well, that's debatable. But the thing is that they don't need any of those TV contracts anyway, because if nobody's watching the streaming, then nobody's going to be watching there. We already talked about the streaming is already now for the first time viewed more than actual TV
for the PGA Tour. Yeah.
No, I mean, overall, it's not only on the PGA Tour. Overall, the statistics say that the TV right now is below the streaming services.
Yeah.
So streaming are viewed more than the TV, than the normal TV channels that exist. So that's definitely something that I don't know how is it gonna play out in the future for TV contracts, but definitely seeing that now streaming is the preferred way to see an event or anything. That says a lot. So again, that's the future of how to watch things. And look, even Amazon has now the Prime through Prime to see Thursday night football. That's the only way you're going to see it. There's no channel. It's through Amazon. You don't have Prime, you can't see it.
And you know what? Prime did a really good job. I watched the Thursday night game, and Prime did a really good job with it.
They did it. They did it definitely. And not only the game was amazing, but they definitely they have a very well thought out. But anyway, Fred, we have this weekend. We have to talk about the big event that is coming. And I don't know if it's that big anymore because even though after a 3-year hiatus, finally we get the President's Cup is back in action. Normally it's every 2 years, right? And odd number of years the President's Cup schedule, but the COVID-19 pandemic after the Americans won in 2019, that was a great match, a 16-14 in Royal Melbourne. Now the return because of that delay between the US and the internationals is going to be on 2022. So it's going to be on even numbers a year. So this return to the matches between the US and them it's unfortunate because it has been largely impacted by LIV Golf after numerous players with a case for qualification joined the LIV and now they can't play here. But anyway, the event is going to go on. It's a 4-day event set to begin at Quail Hollow in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's going to start in September 22. It's going to play to September 25. The par 71, 7,576 yards. I mean, what do we know about Quail Hollow, Fred? It's been a regular stop for the PGA Tour and PGA Tour champions since '69 and hosted what is now the Wells Fargo Championship since 2003. So, Fred, President's Cup is coming. How about this event? Finally, we got it back. I want to get your opinion on this initial part about how it has been decimated by the defections of the players that went to LIV that would have been here. And we're going to be talking about the rosters in a few minutes, but definitely a big impact towards the viewers. Should it be seen or not? It's a big decision now.
When Trevor Immelman got the job of being the international team's captain, I bet he was really excited. He thought, man, this is really going to be a lot of fun to work with these guys. I mean, he was a stalwart on the international President's Cup team for a long time, former Masters champion. Really good guy, highly thought of, and the world just kind of has fallen in on him. So he has to deal with this now with no Cam Smith, no Mark Leishman, no Joaquin Neiman, Louis Oosthuizen, Charles Schwartzel, Brandon Grace, Anirban Lahiri, and Abe Answer. All these guys would have been on the team. That's 7 out of 12 guys that he can't have now. So that's a big impact, Carlos. I don't know how they can be competitive. We were talking about it earlier. The only experience he has, I mean, this team has no experience, almost all rookies. You've got Adam Scott, who of course has a lot of experience, and Adam Scott's playing very well. He started outside the top 70 and moved all the way to the finals. So he's playing really well right now with some of the best golf he's played for a long, long time. You've got also you got Hideki Matsuyama and you got Sanjay M. And then they were all three on the team in Royal Melbourne in 2019. The only other guy that has President's Cup experience is Siwoo Kim, and he did that back in 2017. He didn't play in 2019. So all the rest of the team, 8 of the 12 guys are all rookies on the international team. Now, I mean, you got some guys that you've heard of. Corey Connors is definitely very good. Mito Pereira has been playing very well. Christian Bezuidenhout, we've seen him play well. Cam Davis, he pops up from time to time. Another Canadian, Taylor Pendrith. I think he's out of Kent State too, by golly. So is Corey Connors. Couple Kent State guys in there. and KH Lee. So, you know, they're guys that we've heard of, Carlos, that have, you know what, KH Lee might be the wild card in this thing. You know, he's played really well at times. And so he could be the guy that you rely on. And so, Carlos, if I'm picking teams, the thing with the President's Cup is there's only one session where everybody doesn't play in the President's Cup. So you can't hide anybody, you know, you really can't. So everybody's got to play. So, but, you know, he's got to rely on Adam Scott, Hideki, and Sanjay M. I mean, that's only three guys. He's got to rely on them. Those guys have to win almost every point, don't you think?
They do, and the problem that I see, you know, there's a lot of youth and inexperience, right? Like you mentioned, they're bringing 8 rookies to the table, the most ever assembled one team in President's Cup history. So the two teams, right, the Americans have 6. I'm going to mention their team right now, but the two teams have 14 rookies combined. So 12 was the previous record that took place in 2019, last time that they played. So there's a lot of players there that have a lot of things to prove, but this is a different setting. Would it benefit them that they are so much the underdog? Because right now the odds are minus 750 to 1 for the States to win. They were already favorites before the defections, like from the likes of Cam Smith and Joaquin Niemann, definitely the 2 big defections there. But right now it's just ridiculous. I think that this would challenge when the U.S. beat Russia and the Miracle on Ice, if that happens. That's how big this is going to be if they're able to beat the Americans. Who's in the spot for the Americans? Well, you mentioned Davis Love III is the captain, and Sam Burns, Patrick Cantley, Tony Finau, Max Homa, who just you mentioned won the 14th championship, Billy Horschel, Kevin Kisner, Colin Morikawa, Sander Schauffele, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and Cam Young.
Did you say Kevin Kisner, a guy who's on the team? Kevin Kisner's in there, they can't lose.
You can't, you got it. Your guy is there finally. So he wasn't snub, and they have 6 rookies, but look at the difference when you mention this. Burns, Homa, Horschel, Morikawa, Scheffler, Young. Man, that's a difference. Just by mentioning the names, you already know how much bigger it is. And
all
the US,
12 players, Carlos, for the U.S. team are in the top 25 of the official world golf ranking. Top 25.
Not only that, the U.S. is 11-1-1 at this event. They have won 8 in a row leading to this edition. 7-0, I know, a perfect 7-0-0 on home soil. Okay, and you mentioned it. The average official world golf ranking of the Americans is 11.6, the lowest of any team ever assembled in President's Cup history. Okay? If you go back to the one that was supposedly the biggest one back in 2019, that was 12.2. At that time, the lowest one. Now the advantage over the internationals is 37.3 spots, which is the largest gap ever seen at the competition since 2019, which was 28.6. So maybe that gives the internationals some kind of hope, right? Because that was 16-14. It was a nice there, but definitely, I mean,
I got a question for you, Carlos. I don't see Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, or Dustin Johnson's names on these teams. Where are those guys?
Well, you know, Phil is in LIV, so he can't be. Tiger still cannot walk. So they got to rely on the veterans right now. I laugh because when
that's my point. We got these young guys, but my God, they're still loaded.
Well, look at the veterans. Jordan Spieth, the only American to be playing
he's the veteran. Yeah.
4th President's Cup. That's the veteran. And he's 8-5-1. JT's next online in the experience. He's ready for the 3rd President's Cup.
Those guys are ready for the rocking chair, man.
Yeah. These guys are old. Guys are definitely no. But I mean, Fred, what the internationals have a chance? Do you see the internationals having a chance here? Because I remember in 2019 we were talking about they might come up with something, but nobody expected a 16-14. So it's the gap is bigger this time, But still, with that big gap and the big favorites that what the American was, they swept that one there.
There's 30 points in this thing, Carlos. I will be surprised if the internationals get 6 points. I mean, I don't know where they will come from. They might win a couple singles matches. They might win a couple team matches, get hot or something. That's, yeah. I don't see him winning 8 points. I just don't see him doing that. Maybe 6, 7 points. That's about all I see. And we should mention too, before we get away with this, it will be on TV, but it's going to be different hours. It's 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then it's on Golf Channel on Thursday and Friday, and the early coverage on Golf Channel on Saturday, and then it switches to NBC. And then it's on NBC from 12 p.m. until 6 p.m. all day on Sunday. So you can watch it. It's on Golf Channel and NBC basically is where it's at.
Well, yes, and this just to wrap it up a little bit, to play here in Qualhalla, distance is a serious advantage. And if you look at the recent winners there in the course in 2014, you've seen winners like JB Holmes, Rory McIlroy twice, JT, James Hand, Jason Day, Max Homa. There's not a short hitter among that bunch. And the internationals don't fit that mold either. So, I mean, adding to the appeal for the power this week, the course, they've said that they have not been overseen for the fall. So right now they're sporting that Bermuda rough that may be close to falling asleep for the season. So what you're going to see is a wall-to-wall Bermuda grass this week. So the notes that I've seen from the grounds crew read that, they said the course should accommodate long hitters and would not be as penal when balls are hit offline. So more to say about the Americans under favor. And to summarize it, I mean, they were already favorites, like I mentioned, before Cam Smith and Joaquin Neiman, most notably, are not on the team. They'll definitely be tough to beat. I expect the 22-8. That's how I'm going to be. I'm going to be nice to them. The international set, they embrace that underdog role and gives them some board material to work with. But I mean, the only way that I see them do better is that maybe the Americans underestimate them. And since they have nothing to lose, because everybody's expecting them to lose, then they may come up and do something out of it. But
the U.S. team is so young, and those guys all want to prove themselves. I don't see them slacking off. I don't see that happening. They're going to come out firing. They all want to make their points. They don't want to be the guy that's not getting points and have to take a bunch of grief from the other guys. So yeah, I don't see that happening.
Well, the only thing the internationals have had going their way historically is that they have won more 4-ball matches historically, 68-65. So that may be something that they might want to look at to see if they can get some points on the board and maybe rally to do something about it. So that's the only thing that the internationals have had going their way historically.
Let me ask you a question. Would you put Scott and say Sanjay M together, or would you split these guys up and try to put them with a little bit lesser player?
They have to split them. You cannot. It's 5 matches, both on Friday. Thursday's 5 foursomes, Friday's 5 4-ball. So then you have the Saturday morning, the 4 foursomes and the 4 4-ball in the afternoon. You really can't go, especially those first 2 days. You're not gonna go there 4-1. I mean, I see a lot of potential that they can do. Like Hideki Matsuyama would be a very good player playing maybe with the Mito Pereira. There's no other Latin player, so Mito has to play with somebody that would be comfortable with him. I guess Hideki might be it. They have to put Corey Connors. I would actually put Corey Connors with a Sanjay M. That would be my pairing there. You got to go with Siwoo Kim and Cage Lee in one of them. Or maybe, the 2 Canadians would be Corey Connors and Taylor Pendrith.
Yeah.
So they may be playing together. I don't know how you would match Christian Besuidenhout, who plays really well. I mean, they have a lot of potential, but I just don't see how you can pair them to make a great team there. Definitely. I don't see how they can overcome
I know
this.
it would be tough. I just pair them up, send them out. Okay. It's what it is, because there's just no way. It doesn't matter what Immelman does, it's not going to work.
It's not gonna work. But anyway, Fred, I said 22-8. What do you think it is gonna be?
Well, like I said before, I'd be surprised if they get 6 points. So that's 24-6. I can't. There's no way they'll get more than 8 points. So 22-8, I can live with that.
Well, and just to close it out, Rory McIlroy said, and talking about the LIV impact, we already know what this is going to be right now for the internationals. We know that the TV ratings are going down. That's the one thing that I want to see what's going to happen as well. And now Rory McIlroy went out on record and said that for the Ryder Cup, no LIV players, and of course that has been their stance. What's your take on that?
I got a couple things. I read a really good blog article by Alistair Tate, who is a European golf writer. And he says, Lee Westwood and Ian Poulter and Sergio Garcia, these guys have all played in 500 some European events over the years. They've been staunch supporters of the European Tour. And now you're going to tell them they can't play on the European Tour. I don't think that's right. And he makes a good point. He does. He absolutely makes a good point. But with the PGA Tour's influence in the DP World Tour, I don't know that the PGA Tour will allow those guys to play unless it's a court-ordered thing. I don't see it happening. So Matt Fitzpatrick says he wants the best team possible. Well, if that's the case, you're going to have some of these other guys. Luke Donald, he's being very diplomatic, and he's saying, well, it'd be great to have these guys. We'll have to see what happens. Rory just says flat out, nope, don't want them. No, thank you very much. And then we saw at the BMW PGA a couple of weeks ago, a growing chasm between the players. They were actually getting chippy with each other. So, I mean, it's that camaraderie, that old European Tour camaraderie, it just ain't there, Carlos. Everybody all for one and one for all and all that stuff. Not anymore. It's all about putting money in our pocket, and we don't care about anybody else. So I don't know. It's a whole different deal now for the Ryder Cup, and it's different than the President's Cup. The Ryder Cup's a lot different. You can take a Rory and you can take 2 or 3 other guys, a Tyrrell Hatton, a Matt Fitzpatrick, a Victor Hovland, a John Rahm. You can make a team around those guys right there in a Ryder Cup, okay? You can take them, put them together, throw in a couple rookies to go ahead and lose their match, and then count on these guys in singles, and you can be very competitive. You don't need some of those other guys. Garcia, Poulter, Westwood, they're old, they're over the hill. They were not going to be a factor in Ryder Cup anyhow, okay? So I'm not really worried about the Ryder Cup for the Europeans like I am about the internationals. They were just decimated with the players that they lost. So right now, I don't see those old guys playing in the Ryder Cup. For one thing, they're not getting any points. So, they're not playing in tournaments to get the points. So how can they be on the team? So, but it's a different deal, Carlos. It's a Ryder Cup's a whole different deal than what the International President's Cup is.
Definitely is, and I think you hit it on the right on the nail, and that's the head of the nail, because the camaraderie, that yelling that the Europeans always have, that's what's been the key to their success. And if you're not going to have it, there's no way for them to actually field a team with the LIV players. It's not going to happen. So and this is not something that is going to be fixed in 1 year. So I would guess that for next year's Ryder Cup, they will field a team, which they can very well. Like you're mentioning, they have the big core of those players like Rory, John Ram, Victor Hovland, Matt Fitzpatrick. They can actually field a good
Shane
team.
Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, they've got some talent there.
They do, and they can still field a great team. And it would be even more for them board material to, hey, even without these guys, we're going to go after you. which that would make them even more dangerous, because also the Americans have lost some players. Like DJ is not gonna be there, Brooks is not gonna be there, Patrick Reed's not gonna be there. So even though that would maybe make it a little more even on that end. But it's gonna be interesting what's gonna happen. But for now, it's President's Cup this week, and we're gonna thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest in golf news and information. Hope you can subscribe to us. The link is right there, down there in the bio. Thank you for joining us.